So number one is looking all the way back to November, something that you and I are going to have to eat crow on here pretty badly, me even more so than you, which is the James Harden trade. The question we're going to try to answer here is, why has James Harden worked for the Clippers after a chaotic summer, to say the least, and an all-in trade if there ever was one? The Clippers now feel like a team that could certainly win the NBA Finals, and James Harden has had a pretty strong season. Why, before we get into maybe some of the specifics here, why has this worked, Chris?
I mean, I think there's two big things I would look at. Number one, I think Ty Lue deserves a lot of credit. Ty Lue is able to handle the situation, I think, better than Doc Rivers was able to handle Harden in Philadelphia. I think he has more power and control over the locker room than vis-a-vis where Harden was in Houston, where he was running the roost. I think that is kind of necessary a lot of the time. Secondly, none of what Harden would do would be possible if Kawhi Leonard and Paul George weren't mostly pretty healthy this year, and Kawhi Leonard wasn't, in particular, just healthy the whole year. You would get a different James Harden who is probably averaging 25 on a higher usage or something, and the Clippers are worse if Kawhi had missed a month with an MCL sprain or had a more devastating injury. Kawhi has been, A, their best player all year, and B, uber healthy, and C, just to repeat myself, uber healthy all the entire year. He himself was asked about why he's been so good this year, and he's like, I didn't tear my ACL. And it's like, yeah, having Kawhi Leonard not on a torn ACL and available for your basketball team puts pieces into place. James Harden got put into a place because Kawhi Leonard is there to do so. Like, that plus Ty Lue are, to me, the macro reasons why Harden has worked for them. Like, that has made the structure there, that has simplified everything because those guys provide it.
Yeah. So the trade was Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, Nicholas Batum, and 3 first-round picks, basically, which I think maybe I forgot how significant of a deal it was. Because the players, I think, were kind of looked at as throw-ins to a degree. Maybe but 28 first and then swaps in 27 and 29. I think part of it was maybe we thought PJ Tucker going to the Clippers was like evening out the value. It did not. Tucker is not playing. The person that I'll give the credit to two individuals that are not Ty Lue and not Kawhi Leonard's knees.
Bones Highland.
Yeah, Bones Highland and Mason Plumlee. No. James Harden.
Yeah,
he's been humbled. I don't mean production-wise. I mean, that's a given. He's been productive everywhere he's gone. It feels like James Harden has finally humbled himself. This is a guy who has a usage rate as low as his second NBA season.
Yeah.
He is only playing, I guess, 35 minutes a night. It's down. Feels like that should be lower. I guess I'm maybe tricking myself there. And it just hasn't been an issue. He just is an initiator for this team. It feels like he flows perfectly and without hesitation in and out of step back 3 foul drawing mode as need be. He's primarily just a setup guy, and to me, it's cool to see. I like James Harden. I've always been a James Harden fan, and I wouldn't even say I believed that this level of sacrifice was going to happen for him only at age 34, but it did. And I think you really can't say enough about that for a guy who we just thought of as a one-man show, who was never going to commit to winning basketball ever again for the rest of his life. He's doing it literally right now. And it kind of reminds me of that Nets season when the other two guys, KD and Kyrie, were both hurt, and Harden mounted a little MVP case for a while there, and it was just kind of like run and gun with him. It's not exactly the role he's playing right now, and the usage was a lot higher, but just in terms of kind of the selflessness of the style he's playing, not really hunting his quite as much. It's giving me some of those vibes, but obviously on a much, much smaller scale, which I did not think was possible.
Yeah, I mean, to be a little bit cynical about it, Brendon, I say there's part of me that is wondering he's having the last big contract carrot kind of dangled out there. And for this year, I wonder if he's willing to do this and not kind of lean into some of his worst impulses because he kind of wants to get paid. And honestly, that's valid. Honestly, if you get 1 year out of Harden like this and you win a title, and it's not as great when you re-sign him, I feel like that's probably going to happen. It just feels like that it makes sense for them just to kind of keep this together, barring something nutso happening in the playoffs. I think that's probably part of this. The other person, Brendon, that I think deserves credit is Russell Westbrook. And I think Russell Westbrook, the Clippers, if he's not right in the playoffs, I generally think they will be worse off if they don't have Russ. Russ, compared to everyone else on that roster, especially Harden, especially Kawhi, plays with a verve and a juice that speeds things up and I think gives them a good contrast and allows those guys to play it the way they want to play and gives that team some needed juice. He's also just more than Harden has had to sacrifice ego, and because he went through the Lakers stuff and I think he's just built a certain way and whatever it is, was willing to do that way. He cleared a room for Harden. He could have pitched a fit. They could have had to keep all of them in the starting lineup together, and this wouldn't have worked this way. Russell Westbrook, accepting where he's at and accepting what is best for the Clippers and playing the way he has on top of that, I think has also just opened up a lane for Harden to settle into. I think that's absolutely another big part of this.
Yeah, it's a weird one with Russ. We talked about him a little bit when the injury happened, and I was singing his praises as well. I don't want to say I'm tempering it. It's one of those things I'm just going to kind of believe in spite of the stats, but everything would tell you they're significantly worse when he's on the court, and his offense has been awful. But I kind of just shake my head in the face of that to a degree. Yeah. I'm just I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what the numbers
agree.
say. I don't agree. You know what I mean?
I am the same exact way. I think he makes them better based on watching them, and he makes them more functional when I watch them. The numbers, you're right. They don't tell the most compelling story with him. They never really have, though, which kind of fits. Even when he won the MVP that year, his case wasn't based on VORP and DPM, our real plus minus, and it was just based on vibes. That's kind of the same thing here at a smaller scale, you know?
Yeah. He the one thing I will say, I mean, the defensive stats are definitely back him up, and for a team that is 26th in pace, transition frequency skyrockets when he's out there. Now, efficiency, offensive rating, a lot of the stuff you might look at, even though they're playing faster, again, it doesn't fully back up. But I guess maybe it really is that contrast with the rest of the roster that is so vital for them. Because one thing Harden did is he was more of the same. He likes to play slow. He likes to play in isolation. He likes to run kind of 1-2 pass type of offense. And that's really what PG and Kawhi do also. So it almost made Russ more important as just that change of pace guy, especially once he accepted that he was just going to be that, and he wasn't going to be a big four. It wasn't going to be a big four. So that opened up the space to return to Harden for him to do his thing without it rubbing against anybody. And obviously just accepting going to the bench was big for Russ too, because I just don't think it would have worked if those two guys were both playing heavy minutes on the court together. And now, over the course of the season, they've played together more. The beginning of the year, it was rare. Now Lou mixes that in a little bit more. So, yeah, I mean, Harden, we'll see what happens come playoff time, but I think it's been a rousing success.